Al, Paulie lost a bet. You'll appreciate this. Where on Friday, he's got to eat just vegetables while the rest of us eat meat.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's death. You're on death's doorstep when that happens to you, DP.
But you can't even have green. They can't even put parsley on your plate.
Well, parsley is okay as long as it can be removed. But if somehow it got ingrained in whatever else I had ordered, no. And, it's funny. It's not just green. It's mushrooms. Cooked mushrooms are the worst. Onions, terrible. I had a big old ribeye last night with some mashed potatoes. So Dan, I'm in hog heaven.
All right. I don't know if you were in hog heaven on Sunday night in Foxborough when the fog started to roll in. How do you adjust as the play-by-play guy when that happens?
Well, first of all, I thought at the beginning of the game it was just all the fireworks they'd set off, and there's always a haze inside a stadium when they do that. And then all of a sudden it wasn't going away, and when the Patriots would score, they would shoot off the rifles and all of that. And then at a certain point, I said, well, wait a second, this is more than that. And Fred Gaudelli said, this is the fog because the plane to shoot the aerials is grounded. So this thing rolls in, and it's getting thicker and thicker. But, Dan, I have experience with this. In the 1981 Gator Bowl in Jacksonville, Florida, between North Carolina and Arkansas, I'm doing the game on ABC, and my partner is Ara Parsegian. Mm-hmm. And the fog rolls in, I think, in the second quarter. And then in the second half, it is totally obscured. In those years, of course, think where we were technologically, we had, I don't know, maybe 10 cameras, of which perhaps 2 were on the sideline, and you didn't have, the little cameras that you have right now that you can place anywhere, and the handhelds and all of the rest. So we had to shoot that game from 2 sideline handheld cameras. The other night, the great thing about this was that, Freddie and Drew Esikoff, our great director, they adjusted. And in 1981, you didn't have the Skycam. But I thought the other night when, we went down to that low Skycam shot from behind the quarterback, at least you could sort of see what was happening. And certainly on running plays, it gave you a pretty good idea of what was taking place. Passing plays were tough. But as a play-by-play announcer at a game like that, Dan, what I would do is I would look at the field, which was obscured, just to see when the team broke the huddle what the basic formation was. Do they line up tight? Do they have 2 backs? They have 3 wide, they have 4 wide. And then once I saw where they were going with the formation, then I couldn't see anything else, so I had to go back to the monitor and call it off that camera. So the running plays were fairly easy. If, a 40-yard pass downfield, you're just guessing.
But tougher for you as play-by-play or Chris Collinsworth as the analyst and replays?
I would say maybe for him a little bit more because he has, access to different views of each play. I think some of them were pretty good, not as good as they obviously are when the sky is clear. But he was able to. You kind of work through it. It's mm-hmm. like calling an audible, and you do the best you can. And you know that the audience understands what's going on. And then Drew punched up that shot of the handheld camera behind us to see what we saw. And this was foggy bottom comes to Foxborough.
But you've called games in fog and rain and snow. You were there for the earthquake in 1989. I mean, you've kind of seen all the elements here, haven't you?
Right. And we called a game in Minnesota when it was 4 below zero, and the game in which Blair Walsh missed that field goal at the end, and it was 4 below, and it only felt like, that was Ice Station Zebra that night. Or day. That was a day game in Minneapolis. So I've done games when it's been 108, and I've done games when it's been -4, fog, wind, rain. If you're around long enough, Dan, you'll wind up doing everything.
He's Al Michaels. Coming up this Sunday night, it'll be Detroit and the Pittsburgh Steelers on Football Night in America, Sunday Night Football. We were talking about Rob Gronkowski. Is he a Hall of Famer right now, in your opinion?
He's on the verge. I would think it would be, if he didn't do anything else in his career, I would say the odds would be tilted to his not getting in, because I know the way the voters look at things, and they want a lengthy career and all of that. He's been hurt a lot. He's missed a lot of games. When he's played, he's been tremendous. But I would say, you give him another couple of years, and if he's typical Rob Gronkowski and he wins another Super Bowl, I guess he doesn't even have to do that. I mean, he's already he's had his share of success. Yeah, I mean, he's on the edge. And, you get down to that voting at the end, Dan. I don't know what makes the difference. What I've heard through the years is that you need a sponsor,
Yeah.
a booster, a guy who goes in there and convinces the electorate that you are the guy. If he finds the right guy, he probably gets in.
Who does Carson Wentz remind you of?
It's a good question. Not sure at this point, but I do know he's fun to watch. Got to see most of the game the other night. I just like his. I just like his confidence, and we had him a couple of times last year, and I just like the way he walked in the room. So I'm not sure physically who he'd remind me of, but he was a guy who, he came in the room last year on the two times we had him, and he was solid in terms of what he was talking about, his preparation. A lot of these guys dance around and don't give you really good information, and sometimes you begin to wonder if they know as much as they should know, but he did. And I think he's got a heck of a future.
But when you go into these meetings, explain this. If you sit down with Belichick or Andy Reid or Mike Tomlin, how forthcoming are they with information as to what their game plan is for that Sunday night?
Well, it's not so much, the game plan. Look, we've met with all of these guys dozens of times. I mean, I've been in meetings with Bill Belichick since he was the defensive coordinator of the Giants in '86. That's a long time and a lot of games, and as the head coach with Cleveland, and then obviously the last 17 years in New England. It's not, you're really not going in and saying what's your game plan. First of all, Chris Collinsworth can figure out what the game plan is before the coach even begins to talk about that. And the coaches have a tremendous amount of respect for Chris because he's watched every, imaginable piece of film or tape or whatever, understands it better than anybody, and he can talk to the coaches on a level where they know he knows exactly what's going on, who's playing well, who's not playing well, so they know. So there's a mutual respect there. A lot of times what we do in these meetings is trying to get a story that's a little bit different, personalize the guy. We're talking with Dan Quinn the other day of the Falcons, and we're going through who's what he thinks of his team at this particular point, how the games have stacked up for him, what he hopes to have accomplished in Foxborough on Sunday night. But I thought one of the more interesting things was we said to him at one point, now, you started your coaching career at William & Mary in 1994, and one of us said, did you cross over with Mike Tomlin, who was a wide receiver? He said, yes. He said, I'm a young assistant coach, and I'm hanging out with Tomlin, who's a player. And so they go all the way back, and then he told us a story about earlier this season, Pittsburgh played Atlanta in a preseason game. They're shaking hands after the game, and he says to Mike, hey, let's meet in Minnesota in February, obviously in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, it's that kind of, you glean stuff like that. Andy Reid's a lot of fun. With Belichick, yeah, you learn certain things. With Bill also, he loves to talk about the history of the game. I mean, he is a true historian. And it's so funny. I think I alluded to this on the air the other night. He's a guy who lives in the here and now. He doesn't want to go back to last week, but he will go back to 1976 when he worked for Ted Marchibroda. He made $25. So the meetings with these guys are especially the guys who we've been with for years. But it's not as if they come. They say, hey, here's how we're going to open up the game with the bomb, or whatever we're going to do. No huddle. No, it's not that so much as it is a real overview of the team and some human interest stuff.
Justin Timberlake sat down with Mike Tirico, and before the interview ended, had this to say.
Everybody is shaking their booty. I have a goal to make Al Michaels dance.
Oh, you do?
So, Al Michaels, if we can get you to shake your booty at Super Bowl halftime show. By the way, we can start that hashtag. Hashtag Al Michaels, shake your booty. That will be the icing on the cake. So, unity.
Al, do you have a official response to Justin Timberlake?
Well, I sort of do. You really don't like to trend on Twitter if you don't have to. So I guess I'm not on Twitter, but I hear that that it got a lot of hits or whatever you call them. Belichick calls it snap face or whatever it is. So I guess I'm all over the joint. But here's the thing with this, and I really appreciate Justin coming out and saying this, and he's a great guy and a fantastic performer. But there are a couple of things in motion here. Number one, I'm trying to get through spinal stenosis. So before I'm able to do any of this stuff, do I get a couple of epidurals? Secondly, I mean, I never was a very good dancer. I know the box step. And when I was in high school and Chubby Checker was doing the twist, I could sort of do that. And then, I mean, to me, you know, I thought maybe Lawrence Welk would be the halftime performer, but all of these things are not the case. So, you know, Dancing with the Stars, not only would I be thrown out on the first show, I'd be thrown out, you know, before we even got to rehearsal.
Now, that's not a no. That's not an official no, it sounds like.
It's not an official no. I'd like to be able to step up and do this, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do at this point, Dan. What do I do? I mean, you tell me.
I think at halftime, don't overthink it. Just, you know, it comes halftime, you go down, let the music take over, let it sort of just flow like a wave on the ocean over you, and then you dance with Justin Timberlake for one song, or half a song, maybe just a chorus, and that's it. And then you walk off.
And then I could rip open my shirt, and that would be the perfect.
No. There's no wardrobe malfunctions this time around.
No, but I would have a tight shirt, and as I was stretching the chest muscles.
Of course you would.
The buttons would pop off.
Of course they would.
Oh my God, this would be. You talk about a ratings disaster.
Yeah.
That. Oh, Dan, I don't know what to do at this particular point. I know I'd like to do it. My 8-year-old granddaughter wants to give me lessons. I mean, this is what I'm reduced to at this particular point. 2 epidurals and an 8-year-old give me dance lessons.
We'll talk to you on Sunday night.
You bet. Take care.
Thank you, bud. That's Al Michaels.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.